Bob Macke. I'm telling you how the University of Cincinnati destroyed my life. Before I started at UC in 1996. Before that, I worked 20 years at Powell Valves, William Powell Company. I started out as a floor sweeper. I worked my way up into the metallurgy lab, the chemistry lab. I was a radiographer. I used to radiograph nuclear submarine valves, aircraft carriers, you name it. I was worked on the Clinch River Fast Breeder Reactor program. I qualified when I was 27 years old for a nuclear power plant license. Okay, there were a lot of layoffs for Powell Valves. During the layoffs, my brother Mike would build a golf course. I would do golf course construction. Let me go back. At Powell Valves, I also mentored about 10 co-op students from the University of Cincinnati. Two I remember most was Tony Schmidt. He went on to be president of Bluegrass Metals. And then Kevin McCurdy, he was ran an NDE, non-destructive evaluation company. Both of them told me they didn't get where they were without my help, my mentoring. And okay, during the time I was building all these golf courses, let me backtrack again. When I was 16, I helped my father build Hillview Golf Course. I worked for almost no money. He told me, Bob, for your sacrifice, I will take care of you later on in life. Okay. I got a patent in irrigation. So, when I started at the University of Cincinnati, I lived on a 13-acre estate next to a golf course. I had close to $1 million of Proctor stock. I had a house I designed myself. Had a 6-car garage. I had a full machine shop, welders, lathe, drill press, utility trailer. I would do side work. I was a marine mechanic. I did side work, welding, like wrought irons up in the Clifton area. I just did a lot of things. I had a Harley Davidson, 3 boats, 1 fishing boat, 4-wheel drive vehicle, utility trailer, and all of the welding leads. Now, later, this is where I'm at now. This is a letter I got. I have to donate my body to the University of Cincinnati Medical School because I don't even have enough money. I own nothing for a funeral. I don't want to burden the good side of my family with me having to take care of me. I own nothing. Nothing. Okay, now, first impressions are lasting impressions. My first day at the University of Cincinnati, well, first I went in to interview, and this guy, Bill Smith, him and his uncle, Scott Atkins, run that show up there, Gowns, Moving and Transportation. Bill Smith, they warned me, this guy's got the temperament of a 5-year-old and about the same education of a 5th grader. They could barely read or write. It was their little fiefdom. First day there, Mark McKee, this guy smoked pot every day. He takes me up for my physical. I pass the physical. I go into the grounds moving and transportation garage on Reading Road. Okay, people were introducing themselves. This. I'll take a polygraph on it. First one is Paul Land. Paul Land is Scott Atkins' neighbor. Paul Land says, I don't have to do anything because I caught Scott Atkins getting oral sex from Diane O'Connor, a subordinate, behind the old Frisch's warehouse. And if he starts anything, I'm going to tell his wife. Okay. Then, all of a sudden, William Gardner, he didn't smell of alcohol, he reeked of alcohol. He's got his UC shirt on, which is just filthy. Open, he's got a Confederate flag shirt on. First thing out of his mouth, I'm Scott Atkins' nephew. We don't like no smart enters here. what the heck? Then Harlan Clark. Harlan Clark, the first thing out of his mouth is, I'm Jimmy King's former son-in-law. Oh yeah, Jimmy King and Scott Adkins, like that. Jimmy King ran the moving and transportation department. Same deal with him, he could barely read or write. Okay, then we go on, they're giving me a tour. Macke takes me out in the UC Jeep, gives me a tour of the university. What does he do? He lights up a joint. When I was at William Powell, I probably took at least 20 drug tests. I had a license to carry radioactive isotopes. We worked on military contracts. Drug test, never failed a one. This is my first day. Okay, so now, second day. Jim Tucker, vice president, comes in to have a rap session and to greet me. Jim Tucker, the only reason he got his job, his mother was treasurer, and only her little Jimmy was going to be vice president. He has what he calls a rap session. He's talking about chillers, things that he doesn't know anything about. He's just like he's reading off a script. After he's done, they start applauding. And I'm just stunned. Like, what are you applauding for? This guy's just an employee. It was almost like they had to kiss his ring. And then Bill Smith tells me, hey, you didn't applaud. And I said, well, there's nothing to applaud about. Okay, so now, since it was fall, the systems were already blown out. They put me on leaf blowing and snow removal. Okay, one thing I noticed too, that all of Atkins' relatives and neighbors, they didn't do any work. They just drove around. Only the black employees did the leaf blowing, pick up trash, walk behind mowers. Okay, Scott Adkins' son-in-law, he ran the mower crew, and his neighbor, Leo Fiasco. Okay, they were the only ones that rode on things. Oh yeah, let me tell you something too about Tucker. When they were telling me, the honest people, Tucker is a joke. They went to Australia, him and Police Chief Ferrara, to see the UC. Nick Vera was trying to get the Olympics at UC, right? The only thing they talked about is, oh, the strip bars in Australia, the girls get all the way naked. This is your UC Police Chief Ferrara and Vice President Jim Tucker. Oh yeah, when the first tour came in, they had UC put over $1 million in this running track for the track and field events. Bill Moore Jr., Scott Adkins' grandsons, passed out drunk in a car or a truck. Here comes a tour through. This woman is embarrassed. She grabbed his ID badge. What do you know? I'm thinking, well, he's fired over this. No, he isn't. 3 days later, they just got him a new badge. This is ridiculous. Okay, now I'm working the basketball game. All right. They called us in because UC was on national TV, nationally televised game. Okay, it started snowing. Okay, nobody had buckets or salts in their buckets. Bill Smith points to the athletic director. People are slipping and sliding. He points to 2 black men. He says, well, we can't fire them. The reason they didn't have any salt is because Mark Macke, stoned out of his mind every day, and Harlan Clark, Jimmy King's former son-in-law, were having a fist fight over who got to drive the Jeep with the automatic spreader or the pickup truck with the bags of salt. They both came back bloodied. Okay, let's move on now. Finally, spring comes on. Finally, spring, I qualified for the free tuition. So I started taking classes. Okay, now they say, well, we're going to lets you design the irrigation system for law school, a highly visible corner at Calhoun and Clifton Avenue. So I designed the system. I ordered the parts. We go to get the parts at Toro, and Mark McKee drives right past Toro. And I said, "What are you doing? I ordered parts." "Oh, we found them cheaper." "What do you mean? Where is there irrigation parts?" He ordered plumbing parts. Now this is going to come up later. Okay, in irrigation, there's a thing called a swing joint. And the small stuff like around campus is like a rubber hose, like a garden hose. Okay, and you attach an elbow to it, then to the pipe, so when a mower goes over it, it flexes down and comes back up. All this irrigation had straight nipples in the sprinkler head. There were like two 55-gallon drums in the pole barn of busted sprinkler heads. Okay, I tried to explain to Smith, this is what we have. "Well, that's the way we've been doing it all the time." I said, "Then why did you hire me?" Okay, so now I said, "You got to order these parts." And I told him, I said, "It's springtime. They're probably on back order because everybody's buying the irrigation parts." Okay. I thought it was just going to be me. I built 8 golf courses before UC. I did irrigation and heavy equipment, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I figured it's just going to be me with a trencher, boom, 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 blew the pipe, throw it in. You know, I could get the Calhoun side done by myself in a day. No, they want to make a big production of it. You got the Union trench operator, the Union Bobcat operator. Okay, let them do their thing. Okay, I started laying pipe in there, but I have no swing joint, the 90-degree elbows for the swing joint. So I just capped them, and I just thought, wait a minute, I'm going to throw a nail in there, a piece of metal. Okay, all of a sudden the plumbers show up. They file a grievance and said irrigation should be done by the plumbers. They wanted to have a laborer hold up the pipe for them so they could glue the pipe, and then the laborer put it back down in the ditch. I'm there, come on. This ain't rocket science. So the ditches were open all over Calhoun Street. Then finally they said, no, I can do my job. Okay, it's a good thing I put the nails in there, because they came in the middle of the night. It had to have been Smith. They covered up all the holes where the sprinkler heads were. It's a good thing I had a metal detector, because I located and dug those out, put the 90-degree elbows in, put the funny pipe, put the heads in, and then buried the heads. I got all the way around to the Clifton Avenue side. It's all buried. Okay, now I go to energize the system and run through the programs. Everything's working perfectly. But now I get to the Clifton Avenue side and I go to run the program. Heads aren't coming up. What the heck? What's going on here? All of a sudden Bill Smith says, you better have this up and running or you're out of here. Okay, I had to go up to Toro. They got me a locator. This thing catches the radio waves if there's a cut line. Sure as heck, I went there at nighttime, and the UC police said, what am I doing here? And I said, well, I'm checking the irrigation. Here's my badge. I have to do this at night so I don't get the students wet. Oh, okay. Well, the locator, I start digging. Here the wires are cut. They're cut. And they had a big rock over there. So I spliced it in. The next day, Smith goes, you better have that ring running. And when he showed up, there the water just sprinkling away. And he just, all right, so now they gave me permission to run across law school to the next building. Okay, the stonemasons came in, the masons came in to cut the concrete, laid a 4-inch sleeve pipe in. Okay, so now I said I need 45-degree elbows, so to connect that so we can bury this. And Bill Smith says, I'll go get them. Here, you want me to write down what I need? No. Are you sure? I can write it down. No. Okay, so I'm waiting for him to come back. He comes back with the wrong parts. I said, I told you I could write it down. I said, I'll just get them. Next day, he's got a reprimand for me. You are being counseled because of what you did to me. You know, what you embarrassed me in front of everybody. I said, no, I didn't. You embarrassed yourself. I told you I could write it down. Okay. So things cooled off a little bit. I got that one in. They said, you can't do any more irrigation design by yourself. Now, remember, way back, right when I'm getting ready to get fired, I tried to explain to Bill Smith that how a swing joint works. Over by the Veterans Hospital, the Gateway Hotel, Bill Smith gets like a $2,000 bonus because he re-engineered, redrew the irrigation. He saved the university money. Do you know how he saved the university money? He eliminated the swing joints. He went back to a straight pipe with the head. I get a call from the UC police saying, get up here, there's all these geysers. He had Toro do this with no swing joints. He ended up costing the university about $4,000 because we had to dig every one of them heads up, put a swing joint in, put a repair coupler in. Then Smith goes to the UC lawyer, said he wanted to sue Toro, and I went to talk to the Toro guy, and he goes, yeah, this idiot. He said, we did it as I had built. Okay, now, let's go back. Okay, I'm going to school and stuff, and then now, I see they're giving Roy Allbecker cannot read or write, no driver's license. They're PDQing him. A PDQ is a raise or a bonus for exceptional performance or performance beyond that job description. He can't read or write. So that's when I went to Pat Brogan, WLW News. I said, Pat, I knew the family, the Brogan family. I knew his dad. Pat Brogan worked for my brother, and he WLW News. I said, this is institutional racism up here. This guy can't read or write, and they're PDQing him over black men with college degrees, with exceptional attendance. And I showed him, oh, here's Jim Tucker. We went to the book. The book, before everything was digitized, you could go ask for the book at the library and see what every employee makes. Okay, because it's public records. Here, Jim Tucker impregnated a subordinate, Lynn Plouffe, and I showed Pat Brogan that. This guy knocked up a secretary, and he wasn't fired. Oh well, Daryl Parks, WOW program manager, told him to erase my tape. It was over an hour long about all the corruption up there. Pat's dad, Danny Brogan, had to tell me because he said, Pat was ordered, if you even talk to him, he's going to get fired from WLW. We do not investigate WLW or UC. Okay. Now, other things. UC was trying to get into the Big Ten. I have another video of this. Okay, Tucker gave his buddies in the paint department a no-bid contract to paint the railings at Nippert Stadium. Okay, I volunteered. I would clean up the stadium, but I would volunteer what we called puke patrol. Okay, a lot of people drink a lot of beer there and they get sick and throw up. Like a janitor in grade school, I go there with the floor dry, sweep it up and spray, something. I'm up there here, the painters got drunk or whatever. They left everything there, paint buckets. I have photographs of that. Okay, the Big Ten was there, but they weren't over on the other side, the home side, getting wine and dine. They wanted to see where their spectators were going to sit. And they were there. This place is a joke. People were sitting there. There's peanut shells. There's paint buckets, not even closed up all the way. These kids were going to throw them over the balcony. And I stepped in and I said, no. And like I said, this is what they said. UC is a joke. A joke. See, UC just got done beating Wisconsin, and then they tore down the goalposts and dragged it all the way down to Burnett Woods. Okay, I had a camera. I took pictures of it all. And after I got them developed, I went over to the paint shop and said, this is what you guys are doing. Right away, I get called into Tucker's office. You're not allowed to carry a camera. You don't do that crap. I said, you're responsible for UC not getting into the Big Ten. You are a joke. But he gave orders to everybody else, not allowed to carry cameras. Because people are taking, honest people like me are taking pictures of sleeping hillbillies. Okay, now, here we go. Roy Albecker. He's sleeping in a wrecked truck. I took a picture of him sleeping. How did that truck get wrecked? Jimmy King had a basket in the back of his UC Jeep that said, Hillbilly in charge. He left his keys in the ignition. Someone started that Jeep up overnight, rammed it every vehicle in the parking lot. $40,000 damage to state of Ohio vehicles. $4,400 damage to that Jeep. I had the body shop report. Bent frame, and I said to Detective Lewis, well, show me where it says to replace the key set. It doesn't. He was negligent. Okay, when the UC police showed up because of the alarm, Smith's having his buddies push that wrecked Jeep in the garage, and he's telling the UC police, oh, there's nothing happened. Yeah, right. Okay. When I took a picture of Roy Albecker sleeping, Mark McKee says, I'm going to investigate. What are you going to investigate? The guy was sleeping. He wasn't reprimanded. I got the thing. They wrote me up for taking his picture. They said I'm not allowed to take pictures, and you were ordered too not to carry a camera. You have no business taking a picture of him. You're supposed to be working. What about him? This is lunacy. This is starting to get on the verge of craziness. Lunacy. Okay. Now, a couple weeks before I was fired, they said Diane O'Connor, Bill Smith, Scott Atkins, they said the pumps aren't working. It was a Saturday. Here's the UC credit card. You got to get gas. Well, how do they know I have to get gas? Oh, well. I go out, my pager goes off, get to the ball fields now. Here, UC was playing Miami. I think it was Miami. And there was just a skeleton crew, 2 cameramen for the highlights. They called each other hillbillies. I'm saying this. One of the hillbillies dragging the infield. And by the way, UC had the worst baseball field. This is before March Shot Stadium. They're dragging the infield, and they hit the quick coupler behind pitcher's mound. A pitcher's mound, or a quick coupler, is a spear you put in the ground, and then for a hose to localize watering. So I climbed down into the hole, shut the main off. Then I told the athletics department guy, I said, I got to do something. These people are trying to fire me. He says, you're not going anywhere. Okay. He hands me his card. He says, you're not going anywhere. I'll smooth anything out. We started talking. He goes, are you Mike Mackey's brother? And I said, yeah. And I said, I did not use him for any reason to anything at UC. My brother Mike, before he went to the federal penitentiary for money laundering, had over 100 UC athletes in his employ, either building golf courses or working around his house. Him and Huggins had lunch twice a week. Okay, the game was over. I go over and glue a cap on that quick coupler, and then I turn the water back on. I go back in. Diane O'Connor, Bill Smith, Scott Atkins. I went to sign off on a credit card. They said, where's the receipt for gas? I said, there is one. I didn't need any. You were supposed to get gas. You were supposed to get gas. You were supposed to get gas. I'm like, what? And I told him, I said, here's the athletic guy. Okay, card. All right, let's fast forward. After I was fired, Rob Bell went on WLW, World's Worst Boss Day. He said, I work at the University of Cincinnati. He was the first caller. A mower flipped on me, and they were more worried about the mower than me. He called UC the world's worst boss. 2 days later, UC police, they showed up, they said, we have witnesses that said that you used a UC credit card to buy $100 of pornography on a short line porno shop. And I asked him, Rob, you didn't do it. He said, no. Do you know what that racist criminal scum Ferrara, the guy that spent all UC's money to go to strip bars in Australia? If you fight this, we're going to come up with more charges and you're going to go to jail. Now, who are you going to believe? Me, Rob Bell, or that racist criminal scum, Gene Ferrara? FBI, is that not a crime? Okay, to knowingly accuse somebody of a crime that he knew he didn't commit. Okay, now, after I was fired, I went on campus because I was going to go to school. I saw Jason Johnson. He said, my union president, Robert Barry, was belly aching. He was saying, I helped UC get rid of Macke, that's me, and Tucker effed me out of the job he promised me. All right, when we left off, I went on campus and Jason Johnson said that my union president, Robert Barry, was belly aching. That Jim Tucker said he helped he helped UC get rid of Macke, which is me, and Tucker effed him out of the job he promised him. Okay, to me that's a bribe. FBI, can Tucker still go to jail for this? But yeah, when I talked to Detective Lewis, I told him the story that Robert Barry said, I helped UC get rid of Macke and Tucker effed me out of the job he promised me. Are you going to investigate that? He said, that's none of your business. Okay, now, a couple weeks before I was fired, it was Scott Atkins, picked my lock and put this note in my locker. You're going to have digitized pictures later. Quit now while the going is good. UC detectives came in and they said there's no visible signs of entry. I said, yeah, right. I said, a couple days later, I talked to the owner of Brother Lock and Key, and he said, UC employees, and might have been police officers, are buying it in, ordering them out of lockpicks. I said, can you give me their names? He says, no, they're bonded. They show me the bond, and I have to sell them the lockpicks. And he asked me, well, what's this for? He goes, when these students, they leave, we gotta break into their lockers. And he said, wouldn't it be easier just to get a bolt cutter? That's what every other school does. Okay, now, finally, here's the police report. And like I said, this is going to be digitized too, so to prove the fact. First line, supplemental narrative. This is the official University of Cincinnati police report on my lock being picked, and this a note put in there. I spoke to Mr. Atkins, this is Detective Lewis, in regards to paper towel found in Mr. Macke's locker. Mr. Atkins stated in the interview that he did not write the harassing remarks on the paper towel and place it into Mr. Macke's locker. Okay, now, all the way down here like line 5, this is Detective Lewis. I advised Mr. Macke that I was not a professional and didn't think so. However, I would have Lieutenant Deemer, who has experience in handwriting else, take a look at them. Lieutenant Deemer looked at each item and stated that due to the copies provided, he was not only do a comparison of the paper towels provided, or the copies provided by Mr. Macke. I gave him 6 different copies. He only gave him 2. Okay, now, you'll see this later. See the similarities? It was Atkins. Not only did Atkins lie to the police, the UC police let him lie. Other handwritings. One of them was when I was hauled off the grounds by the UC police under Scott Atkins' orders. To me, that's false imprisonment for carrying a little bag, like a little mini briefcase. The reason I'm carrying it, I used to have every irrigation program memorized. I had to start carrying program manuals because they would call me up, go to this job site. As soon as I was there, oh, you're at the wrong one, go to this job site. Oh, no, what are you doing here? I'm just running around. Okay. So in the report, he said, I told Bob to put his briefcase away, that he did not need this for his daily assignments. Look, this guy, he's on a power trip. He used the UC police to false imprison me. I wasn't charged with anything. You know, and his report to the police, he says Bob was talking about all the rangs in the department. The guy could barely read or write. And on the way out to my car, I said to Officer Hensman, UCPD, what am I being charged with? What? You can't do this. I didn't threaten Atkins. The guy's on a power trip. He's using you for a personal police force. And you know what he said to me? Why don't you just quit? This is the university. Serve and protect. Not me. Okay, now, after I was fired, and again, oh yeah, here's the body shop report on Jimmy King leaving his keys in his UC Jeep. Oh, here's some of the photographs which you will see later of all the paint buckets left at Nippert Stadium. Okay, now after I was fired, they were giving Jim Tucker a coronation on WLW Mike McConnell show. I called in and, well, Mike McConnell's one said, oh, Jim Tucker, he went from parking all the way up to vice president. See, it can be done. I called in, and before they hung up on me, Mike McConnell, I said, Jim Tucker knocked up a secretary, gave her tens of thousands of dollars of raises and bonuses, and bribed my union president. Click. Okay. We subpoenaed that tape from WLW. There's the subpoena saying we want the Mike McConnell show. WLW refused. Daryl Parks, the program manager, I talked to him on the phone. Remember, let's go back. Daryl Parks told Pat Brogan to erase my interview tape about the racism and corruption of at UC. Then if he even talked to me, he'd get fired. WLW refused a subpoena in a federal lawsuit. Daryl Parks personally, on the phone with me, personally refused and laughing at me. Daryl Parks is a convicted felon. I'm dealing with the criminal element of WLW. Now, Mike McConnell, or not, Mike Allen, was talking about if somebody refuses a subpoena in a lawsuit and the judge does not hold them in contempt, that judge is corrupt. Well, Judge Beckwith, Mike Allen just called you corrupt. Now, I go to campus, I'm going to school at night. I'm hoping Mike Allen's going to show up and finally get this thing together, or this ridiculous firing, because I went to him at the 52 bar, and I'm going to have the documents to prove it. Okay, let me go way back. When we were building Hillview Golf Course, my dad, after work, he would drop me off on Jewelmar Drive, and Terry Donahue lived there, and he had a really nice looking sister. Okay, my dad would drop me off there. I'd talk to Terry, and then I'd cut through to Winburn to hang out with Jim Allen, Mike Allen's brother, several times. With, like on the TV show Leave It to Beaver, you give your buddy's little brothers the business. I've done this twice to Mike Allen, give him the old Dutch rub. Said Mike Allen, So that's who I went to. He can't say he didn't know me. Okay, at the 52 bar before the Elder football game, he's holding court. Because at that time he was Hamilton County prosecutor, and he was chairman of the Hamilton County Republican Party. He's holding court. We got to kiss the ring of Mike Allen, and finally I'm the last up, and that's when I started telling him about this body shop report. And then here's the Elder football schedule. There it is, to confirm that date. I said, Mike, this guy, Bill Smith, stole a Bobcat machine. And then Jimmy King left his keys in his UC Jeep, $40,000 damage to UC vehicles, $4,400 in the Jeep. And Bill Smith had staff roll it into the garage and close the door. And then he goes out and tells, the UC police were responding to the alarm. And he said, oh, there's nothing there. They just tripped the alarm. There's nothing to see here. There's not, the building wasn't broken into. He hid $40,000 damage from the UC police. Okay, like a fool, I thought Mike Allen was legitimate. He said, this Smith character is going to go out in cuffs. Go see my good friend Gene Ferrara. This was Friday. Monday, I walk in the grounds movement and transportation, and I thought Mike Allen was legit. Top cop. I said, Bill Smith's going to go out in cuffs for stealing that Bobcat and hiding all that damage from the UC police. It didn't happen. Now, I'm going to school, and I parked my car. I'm on my way to campus. On McMillan Street, there's Mark McKee. He tries to run me over with a UC Jeep. I go straight to the UC police and tell them about it. I go there the next day to get a police report. Oh, here's the police report. Subject, harassment, former employee. Suspect, Macke. What am I suspected of? Subject in question was terminated a few months ago. In the end, McKee says, he stated he was contacting Jim Tucker and also a District 5 reference matter. If he went down to District 5, they probably laughed him out. They should get laughed out of the UC Police Department. But no. Getting back to this same UC Police Department that let Scott Atkins lie to them. Lie to them. Oh, when I get back to the Scott Atkins thing, there's a thing in the paper about this doctor who was charged with rape. Okay. They didn't convict him. But this was back in 1989. Just a couple months ago, a police detective saw him going into a Starbucks and recognized him. Okay, when he discarded his cup, the detective took it in for DNA testing. Now, he just got sentenced to like 10, 20 years for lying to the police. Now, Atkins is probably dead by now because he always had a cigarette in his mouth or his hand. Okay, now, couldn't he be charged with lying to the police and not breaking into my locker, which he did? Now, at that point, shouldn't he have been fired? And then, right then and there, from that point on, all of his benefits and pay have to be given back to the university because he committed a crime. Same thing with Tucker. Okay, FBI interview Robert Barry, if he's still around. And, Tim Williams, the Ask Me lawyer. Every hearing on my behalf, he did not show up. He was my lawyer, my Ask Me lawyer, to interview him. Who told him not to show up? Bob Doggett, one of my lawyers with Freaking in Beds, he said, Bob, you're in a hornet's nest of corruption. Oh yeah, Leslie Gibbs was one of my lawyers. She's a judge for right now. Well, and I said, let me go to Mike Allen and straighten this whole thing out. Leslie Gibbs, this is her quote, and I'll take a polygraph on this one. Mike Allen is a slime ball. Bob Doggett, bless his heart, he's deceased now. He said, he was a little nicer. He said, Mike Allen's a dirt bag. This is what I'm up against. Now, FBI, can Tucker still go to jail for bribing my union president? And if he did, from then on, all of his benefits and everything, pay it back because he committed a crime to get rid of me? Same thing with Ferraro, that racist criminal scum. Now, Rob Bell, let's go back. They said, here's the UC credit card. And then they falsely accused him of using that credit card to buy pornography. How would you like that on your record? Oh, yeah, let me tell you about Ferrara, too. After I was fired, a person, I wouldn't call him a friend, I just knew him. He worked at the IRS. And I said, maybe I'll try to get a job at the IRS. He gave me this little thing of how to study for the test. I went over to Newport, or Covington, Kentucky, the IRS, and took the exam. I scored very high on it. But then you had to go in to see the guy with the gun and the badge about if you're fit to work for the Treasury Department. He says, Bob, I know you. I play at Hillview. I take care of the St. Jude's League. I can't hire you. I just got off the phone with UC Police Chief Gene Ferrara. You have some serious issues with the University of Cincinnati Police. And I asked him, what are all about? This is a police department. It's confidential. Well, scumbag, racist, corrupt, criminal Ferrara. Okay. Now, we're going to skip around here a little bit. After I was fired, my wife filed for divorce on me. Before she filed, though, I can't get a job. The only thing I'm doing is mowing grass. I took the radiographer's test. I used to get 100 on it, a 6-peg exam. Bob Kleeman gave it to me. Akron, he worked for, he was a radiographer, the best radiographer around. I flunked it because all this stuff, the psychologist said my brain was like that squirrel in the middle of the road when a car's coming, just don't know which way to go. I had traumatic muteness for almost 4 or 5 years. I couldn't speak because couldn't get the first word to come out. Okay, before she filed, we sold my Harley Davidson, my welder generator set, all my machine tools, my other welders, my fishing boat. The only thing left was my front loader. I forgot to put that in there, what I owned when I started at UC. I had a front loader and one of the boats. Okay. After she told me, yeah, we got to make the payments. You can't make enough money cutting grass. I come home to an empty house and a divorce notice. So now, this is not happening to me. I was a good husband. She had a sister that was, in my day, we called it retarded. She was 40 going on 6, if you know what I mean. I'd take her to church, I'd take her to Frisch's, doing the things. Oh yeah, let me tell you a little bit about my ex-wife. She got fired from P&G for stealing miles, flunking drug tests, crappy performance reviews, and then when she got fired, she got a job at the casino, first as in the deli, then as a dealer. Okay, I don't have anything. I used to make a lot of money with those welders, and it was a marine mechanic, and then I would machine some tool or parts for things. Okay, so she's charging me with all these contempt charges. My divorce should have been over in about 8 months. It was going on the 3rd year. She was wearing me down. My health just started falling apart. I went to my doctor. He said, this stress, you got to get rid of one of these things. So I had a meeting at my mom's house where I'm at right now, where I might be thrown out pretty soon. I said, look, I'm giving up $1 million of Proctor stock so she doesn't take the house. Nancy, Andrew, Paul, and Joseph, can you buy my house? $272. Now the reason that 13 acres only appraised at $272 because there wasn't an easement. I had a bulldozer. I was digging the driveway. I got a permit. Of all people, do you know who gave me the permit? Jim Allen. Mike Allen, former prosecutor, brother. I had the permit. And is it a done deal? And my mom's there. Okay, one thing too is my dad hand wrote me a will leaving me that 13 acres. Okay, that is not a legal document. I kept on asking this woman to marry me. I said, why, by the way, I raised her kids from preteen all the way to adult. At UC, they got about $100,000 worth of free tuition, each of them. Okay. Okay, we had that meeting. Oh yeah, we saw that will. I said, that's not a legal document. When we got back from Lake Tahoe, got married, my mom put it in her survivorship for the consideration of $1, Bob and Linda. So in the eyes of the court, I brought $1 into the marriage, not 13 acres. I brought $1. Now, Hillview, you four, can you do this? Because we're running out of time. Oh yeah, okay, 272, done deal. I gave up stock, midnight deal. Paul Macke, my brother, comes down with a check for $335,000. And my lawyer says, you stupid idiot. It was a done deal, 272. Well, we wanted to see if Linda was a player. No, it was a done deal. She had a buyer for it. And then, we'll just pile up a whole bunch of dirt and keep her out. No, you won't. Because do you know you're going to block out? You're going to block out the people that she sold it to, because when you're piling a bunch of dirt up, it's already sold. So now they started a smear campaign on me. Every time I saw Paul Macke, I said, Paul, you were told 272, 272. Okay? I'll pay the lawyer fee and everything. It ain't going to happen. Then it was, well, you had your chance. What do you mean your chance? Well, you got that property for nothing. I did more work at Hillview Golf Course, except for my dad and my mom, than anybody. I sacrificed. My dad said, Bob, you can't run track in the springtime. I need you. We got to get that first 9 holes up in, or else I go belly up. And see, he let me go to Colorado. I was a camp counselor and lifeguard. And he says, you go to Colorado, you got, when June comes, everything's growing then. And that's the sacrifice I made for Hillview. And I went into that room with half of a 13-acre estate, my mom's house, half of a 13-acre estate next to a golf course, with a driveway in. They said about $3 or $4 million, and about $1 million of Proctor stock. I came out of that meeting with nothing. As soon as it was in their name, they evicted me, bulldozed my house, and guess who they sold it to? Mike Allen's family, their development. They got about $4 million for it. They had no conscience. They used that money to buy Ashton Oaks. Anytime you go to Ashton Oaks, think twice about spending money there. These people, my mom, she kept on crying to me, Bobby, I'm sorry. You should have let that witch have that property and keep that stock. Because if she would have got that property, they could have never sold Hillview. Never sold them. But this is where we're at right now. All right, first of all, we're just going to summarize my story we're trying to tell you. I'm not editing any of it because this is what I wear. I don't own very much good stuff. I lost everything. So we're going to start summarizing. Okay. Some of the things I remembered here. Remember, Bill Smith stole a Bobcat machine. UC police, in my lawsuit against the University of Cincinnati, I said Bill Smith stole a Bobcat. UC police to the federal court. We don't care that white Bill Smith stole a Bobcat. They don't care. Also, he might have stolen the trailer too, because he said, okay, the Bobcat should have gone in to asset utilization to be sold with sealed bid. We'll get into that in a minute too. Okay, he didn't. He just rolled it on a trailer and drove it home. I had the UC police go out there and they said, well, we saw a Bobcat machine. It was a CL30 Ford. But that's private property. Oh yeah, another thing too about Roy Allbecker. Sleeping in a wrecked truck, no driver's license, can't read or write. Okay. After I was fired, I saw the Enquirer at his house, at Allbecker's house. His son's throwing a sawed-off shotgun to 2 juveniles. The gun goes off and blows his kid's leg halfway off. I take the Enquirer story to Detective Lewis. Oh, what happens at his house is none of our business. Okay, now, we were talking about how I said the University of Cincinnati police let Atkins lie. They let him lie. Okay. About a month before I was fired, they posted at the University of Cincinnati an irrigation specialist job. I thought, oh, they're finally going to get me some help because all these times they keep on hauling me back in. Oh, you're in the wrong place. Here, go fix this, go fix that. I thought they were going to get me some help. Okay. The fall before I was fired, I was a volunteer teaching stationary engineering at College of Applied Science. Okay, I took the class because I want to get recertified. I haven't been certified as a boiler operator, stationary engineer, and oh shoot, 6 years. So I want to get recertified. Here, the instructor, he ran the show up at Zimmer Power Plant. At Powell Valves, I did a lot of non-destructive evaluation on them valves. Okay, and I also said before, at 27 years old, I qualified for a nuclear power plant's operator's license. Okay, I've been on a job for the power plant as an apprentice. I filled out 2-3 pages of qualifications. They came back and said I wasn't qualified. Okay, oh, another thing too. I went to Steve Sayers, he ran the bookstore. When I was captain of Elder swimming team at Elder High School, he was an underclassman, and he was bragging about how his mom works at UC and he's got a job for life. Okay, at first when I talked to Steve, well, we're buddies. Hey, Stevie, hey man, you got anything? I got to get away from these hillbillies. Anything. Sweeping floors, anything. And look around. I go back a couple weeks later. His receptionist says, Mr. Sayers doesn't want to be bothered by you anymore. And quit coming by or he's going to call the UC police on you. Sayers. Hey, my neighbor, he bought my sister Janet's house. Gary Swagger. He's saying, the last 2 years at UC, I didn't do anything. Steve Sayers was indirectly my boss. Steve Sayers is more corrupt than Jim Tucker. Hear that, Sayers? More corrupt than Jim Tucker. Oh, well. Okay, now. Oh, another thing, going way back, when I was at College of Applied Science, I was taking my labs there, and I was taking my other class on main campus. Okay, I got 100 on this test, and the professor says, well, Mr. Macke, that's me, got 100, there's no curb. So everybody's stuck with the grades they got. I didn't want these kids, I'm 47 years old and they're in their 20s. I didn't want them to hate me. I said, hey, look, after class, as soon as the class was over, man, they closed that thing up and pushed everybody out. I said, if you'll go up to a tavern up in Mount Adams, I said, I'll buy a pitcher of beer, or if you don't drink, tea or Coke or anything, I'll help everybody with their homework. I had about 6 people show up. Okay, we get done. I'm walking my car, and there's Gary Jeff Walker, WLW. At that time, WLW was in Mount Adams. And I told him, yeah, Pat Brogan was doing my story about the racism and corruption at the University of Cincinnati. Then I was telling him about all this theft and the racism. And this is what I remember telling him, going way back, first day at UC, William Gardner, Scott Atkins' nephew, we don't like no smart enters, had a Confederate flag shirt underneath his UC shirt. Him and King would do nothing at work. They would just drive around because half the time Gardner was so drunk that he couldn't stand up. Okay, now, the black cleaning crew would come in there on Reading Road. All the cleaning crews for bathrooms were black. Okay, Gardner and King, when they knew they were coming, first they would just knock over garbage cans, so they have to clean it up. Then they started doing stuff like throwing stuff all over the floor. Then they started stuffing up the toilet, take a whole roll of toilet paper, shove it down there, and this I'll take a polygraph on this one too, and then flushing it so it overflow under the floor. Now this really happened. I was telling Walker about it. Gardner took it one step further. He purposely defecated on a toilet seat just to get the satisfaction of a black man cleaning it up. This really happened, and he started bragging to his other buddies. You know, I was telling Walker this. I said, you know, I went to WLW about this. Okay. And you know the story, Gerald Parks made him erase the tape. Okay, after I was fired, I saw Walker at the Beatles Booster Club. I said, you know, you guys at WLW, you protect the racism and the corruption up there. I went to you. They always say, if you see something, say something. I said something to the top cop, Mike Allen, Hamilton County prosecutor, Gene Ferraro, the UC police chief. Okay, WLW. All these people protected the racism and corruption up there. Now, like I said, when I was fired, I was a volunteer. Well, the fall quarter teaching stationary engineering. I was a volunteer at the DAB shop, and that's about a month before I was fired. I'm up there, and the shop supervisor, Jim Burns, said, hey, instead of being a volunteer, he was going to talk to the dean about getting me as a paid student helper to do welding for them, to do machining for them, to do, you know, because I did both. And Tucker was up there, and I said, oh, hey, I saw you posted a job for an irrigation specialist. I trained Greg Romaine and Greg Romaine and Jerome Edwards, two black men. I said I showed them how to glue pipe, how to rewire stuff, this and that. They're ready to go. You know, like I said, I thought they were going to get me some help. No, they're going to fire me. They're doing a replacement for me. Okay, now Tucker knew I had two qualified black men, Jerome Edwards and Greg Romaine. Atkins goes to Human Resources and puts on that in the questionnaire, there are no minorities qualified for that job. Remember, Atkins lied to the police. He lied to Human Resources, along with Jim Tucker. They had to both sign off there. There's no minority qualified. Yes, there were. Now, going all the way back when I said, well, when Atkins lied to the police and about that doctor that was charged with rape, and he didn't get convicted of that, but he got convicted of lying to the police. Okay, now doesn't this apply for the black employees that there's that PDQ again, all the way back when I went to WLW. They're giving Roy Allbecker a PDQ, a raise or a bonus for exceptional performance or performance beyond that job description. Okay, you can't read or write. I have never known any black person at UC to get a PDQ. Now, cannot we start right now when Greg Romaine and all the black employees know that they were being passed over systematically? Can they still file suit against the university for racial discrimination because they were systematically discriminated against? Oh, when I started there, here's the chain of command at Grounds Movement and Transportation. Oh yeah, some started calling each other the hillbilly mafia. Okay, there are no minorities in any management position. Every one of these people are either related or neighbors. I even coined the term nepo-terrorism. Okay, now, I've told you before, I used to be a radiographer. I used to radiograph nuclear submarines, all that stuff. Okay, after I was fired, I was working on this invention. I invented it at Pal Val's. It's a radiation camera where you can see radiation using the pinhole concept. Okay? Alright, 2009, I entered it in the Enquire Innovation Contest. I didn't win, but two things happened. It made it public knowledge and made it permanent knowledge. 2014, I did a patent search on it, and here, Hitachi Electric, Japan, copied my drawings and tried to file an international patent on it. See? Pinhole camera, pinhole camera. Now, University of Cincinnati, if I wasn't fired, you see, when I went to the naval recruiter, I'd always stop by and talk to them. I was trying to get into the Naval Academy. Donald Clancy nominated me, but I blew my knee out playing football at our high school. And I just stopped by there to get stickers and stuff. And this guy says, "Oh, that's the guy that invented that radiation camera." And I was talking to him. He goes, "Yeah, oh yeah." My patent attorney said, Hitachi Electric, they filed a motion and said, "You can't patent that. Bob Macke made that public knowledge, but they're making them." My patent attorney said, "If I would have patented that back in 2001, instead of being fired from UC, you're talking tens, if not hundreds, tens of millions of dollars in royalties." The Navy guy said, the way he said it, like if a dirty bomb, that's what I invented it for, to clean up after a dirty bomb. Let's put this in perspective. A curie is 37 billion disintegrations a second. One curie of radioactive cesium weighs less than 1/10,000th of a gram. Now, let's say if a dirty bomb is exploded, the Navy guy said they programmed a robot to seek out the contamination. That little tiny little thing, it would zero in, suck it up into lead containment, and then go on. The program of this thing, instead of a hunter killer with people, it was a hunter killer with radiation contamination. Now, another thing too. After this, there's a year ago in my church, I shot a video about the corruption up there. Okay, it's unedited. Okay, but I talked about Howard Fry. Howard Fry told Bill Smith, called him an idiot. Bill Smith threw him to the ground. He shoved him. So me and Rob Bell, we called our UC Police Department to file assault charges against Bill Smith. Do you know what the UC Police said? You're accusing of someone of an impeccable 20-year career at the University of Cincinnati. I don't believe you. Okay, first of all, I'd have an impeccable record too if I was getting performance reviews like this one from his uncle, William Find Way, not F-I-N-D, F-I-N-E. Oh, William find ways to do his job better. That's illegal. Okay, another thing that was illegal is these people have been there since UC was run by the city of Cincinnati. It became a state university, so they started their careers all over again. Now, when they retired, Jim Tucker, impregnated a subordinate, okay, hired them back to do the same job. That's illegal. That is illegal. But I'm just wondering now, who are you going to believe, me, or them? I would like to go to the UC Police Department and file assault charges against Bill Smith for shoving Howard Fry to the ground. That's why, with all this information, what I'm saying is, can all the black employees, can they file suit? Because they just now know, they don't know yet. When they see this video on the internet, they're going to know Tucker and Atkins conspired to prevent them from getting a job which they were entitled to. Now, let's see here. Okay, now you got me. I'm going to try to sum up now. You got me. I'm fired for being late for a meeting. I was a volunteer, both at the DAP shop and teaching stationary engineering as a volunteer. How many of these other people that work at UC volunteer for anything. Anything. None of them. Oh yeah, real quick I want to say too, building all these golf courses, I had keys to every lawn equipment there is. One day, I brought a roller sulky in, and when mower crew went to lunch, I hooked up that, since I had keys to every lawn equipment, I hooked up that roller sulky to a mower, and I fantail striped McMicken Common, like the infield of a professional ball team, like the infield of Wrigley Field. It was beautiful. When I got done, I'm just striping back and forth, checkerboarding and all this stuff. The students applauded, man. They said, that's great. And even a teacher looking out the window, I like that. Here comes Smith and Atkins. What did you do? They had somebody mow it over. They'll want this cutting all the time. Well, if I was the University of Cincinnati too, I'd like to have that same cutting because it would look beautiful. They just mowed it back over. These people do as little as possible and get as much as possible. Now, sorry to say, my life expectancy now is no longer measured in years. It's measured in months. Now, okay, the same person, me, that invented this radiation camera, I've invented a helmet. Now, my credibility is, I had a patent. I think of these things. When I was fired too, I went to Miami University. They had an ad in the paper for grounds, and I called the number while I was driving up there, and I just happened to get the supervisor. He goes, "Oh, you're Bob Macke's son?" I said, "Yeah." And here I know him from going to turf meetings and these presentations, these irrigation companies and turf, And he goes, "You don't have to come up. You got the job." Okay. I called Bob Dog at my lawyer, and I said, "Man, I got a job at Miami. I could go back to school and finish my degree and maybe save my house." He said, "Bob, you can't take that job." I said, "What do you mean you can't take that job?" When you settled out with the University of Cincinnati, you cannot work for the state of Ohio. You can't enter into a contract with the state of Ohio. You can't take that job. They'll find out. And you know how much UC hates your guts. They'll file charges against you, because you signed on that dotted line. You can't work. So now I'm trying to figure out what to do with this helmet. And I mean, I guarantee you, every NFL team will wear a variation of this helmet, and college and high school, and especially grade school football players. Okay, now what I'm thinking of doing is I've never sent an email. I have somebody send an email to Purdue University and Indiana University and say, "Hey, how would you like to go in non-disclosure? I'm just going to give you this helmet so you can both have a contest to see who can get one into production." And so I can stand on the sidelines at IU and Purdue and with their neurosurgeons and rub it into UC's nose. That's where I'm going at, because I can't go with UC because I'm not allowed to do business with the state of Ohio. Now, I'm getting a little fatigued now, but I think I've said about everything. And what I am saying is, every black employee at UC, well, racist criminal scum Ferrara was, oh yeah, real quick, Ferrara, in the winter, me and Rob Bell and then black employees, they take us to this room, say, "Well, you got to sweep it up." And you know what they do? They'd leave bait stuff, like a brand new laptop sitting there. There's nothing in this room. It's been swept before, and there's a nice brand new laptop computer. Do you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to get, I even told one of the new black employees, I said, "Don't even touch that. They might have it greased, or if you just put a fingerprint on there, they'll say, hey, you sold that to Jerry Gratch. That's another name too, Jerry Gratch, Mary Gratch's brother. See, they're all families. The day I was fired, he spit on me. I'm walking by the door and spit on me. Then I go to my truck to get my personal effects. Robert Schroeder, Phantom employee. In the winter, when I was there, I didn't know he even worked. Also in the springtime, he's trimming hedges. Here, he's in the winter, they would just clock him in and he's going to school. Now, which one is it? Are you working or are you going to school? Yeah, I never saw him on snow removal. I never saw him cleaning up the stadium. That is below his stature. I think he's Sayre's buddy. Okay. He shoved me into my truck like, you MFer. You know, who do you think you are? I think Schroeder should pay all that back too. Okay. See, now I'm losing. I get tired. Kind of lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, okay. I think all black employees, well, that racist piece of scum Farber's there, that racist, corrupt scumbag Jim Tucker, and well, Mike Pants to his ankles, Allen was trustee. I think all black employees should get the same compensation that Smith and Akin did, because they'd come up with these ideas that they said, oh, this is going to, it's good for UC. No, it's not. The only reason it's good for UC is because either they're a cousin or, you know, this, oh yeah. It's like when Smith changed the drawings and cost the university about $4,000, he gets a $2,000 bonus, that kind of crap. I think that was the best thing, unless hopefully a lawyer is watching this, contacts them and see if they can sue the university. And for me, do you know what you see? For all the volunteers and all that stuff, what you did to me, do you know what you should do? Give me all my back pay. And like I said, when Tucker, from the time he bribed my union president, Ferraro, when he falsely accused Rob Bell of buying pornography on a short mine porno shop, fired, give back all your money. And when Bill Smith stole the Bobcat machine, fired, give it all back, because you're doing stuff illegal. But yeah, you see, how about give me all my back pay, so that maybe I can patent this helmet by myself, and instead of going to Purdue in Indiana. Well, for this, that's all. That's all I got for right now. So, oh, I thought I had a picture of it. Thought I had a picture of my house that got bulldozed by the Allen family. But this is Bob Macke. For right now, this is all I got. Hey, thanks. All right, here we go. This is me before the University of Cincinnati. That's one of my offices at Powell Valves. To the right of me is a Waterford ultrasound, and the machine in front there, the Magnaflex machine. Over here are all the standards for Clinch River fast breeder reactor. And then in the back, my ever-present motorcycle helmet. Okay, that's me machining a valve similar to a nuclear power plant, or a nuclear submarine valve. I'm just seeding it, but I machine small stuff and big stuff like this. Okay, now that's me in the radiography lab. The top there is right here is radioactive cobalt. Down is a radioactive iridium. And then you set up your shot, you get out, and then you crank these, shut the door, crank the source out, and radiograph. Okay, this is the house I designed and built myself on the 13 acres that my father left me. Like I said, I designed and built this. It was passive solar. That's a southern exposure. This is an eastern exposure. Someone would come in the kitchen in the morning, and then this is a 6-car garage. I even put a garage door in the middle so I could pull a boat through and turn around and come back out. There's the front of the house, and the eaves hang over. You can walk out any door except for the garage and not get wet. And yeah, there's me machining again. I thought I got rid of that. There's my patent. Robert Macke, irrigation patent, 96 when I started at UC. All right, here's Roy Albecker sleeping in that wrecked truck. There he is in the back there. And you know the story. They wrote me up for taking this picture. I'd like to find a way to get nominated for a Pulitzer on that, because this more or less tells everything of how certain people privilege. All right, now here's Scott Atkins' note. Quit now while the going is good. Okay. The other author is Jimmy King. All right. Here's Scott Atkins' handwriting. UC police saw no similarities. No similarities. See? And the guy can't make a command. McMicken Green, Mounts Area Road, Browning. Oh, DAA, above wall area, not an or a not. Okay. This is when I was hauled off the ground by the UC police for carrying a briefcase. More handwriting samples. It's him. It's him. Now, this is when he's reprimanding Danny Helm. Danny Helm was a mechanic, small engine mechanic. He had a little shop at the end of Nippert Stadium. He'd small engine repair, fix flat tires, change the oil on mowers, that kind of stuff. Okay, he had a Cushman, C-U-S-H, Cushman, three-wheeler, like a meter maid, thing. It broke down. Okay, he had to use his car or his truck to get to that shed. He used to drive the Cushman. Okay, Scott Atkins calls it a Cushman. Okay, Scott Atkins, instead of going to the UC police and saying, hey, we need a temporary parking sticker or placard because Danny Helm in his truck kept on getting a ticket. Instead of doing that, he told him to put State of Ohio plates on his personal vehicle. He does what he's told, and Scott Atkins writes him up. Okay, now I got to tell you something about Danny too. When they would send stuff to asset utilization, Bill Smith would come in and tell him, like on this mower, take the mower deck off. Okay, oh, and one of the tires, get the worst one you got, make sure it's flat. Then they take it over to asset utilization behind the old Sears building for sale. Well, that's another thing. It's supposed to be sealed bid. Okay, me and Tom Sturwell, another, like on a car, something UC's going to sell. I bid $120 on a car. What do you know? Jimmy King got it for $122. $2 more than my sealed bid. Open up the bids, Scott Atkins. Now, it's rigged. Okay, but after Smith or any of their family members got these things, then they put the mower deck back on. Danny used to call it, they told me to booger them up. Okay, now, when I was fired, we subpoenaed him. When they found out it was subpoenaed, I don't know what they fired him for. They fired him. Okay, I saw Danny. I live over in the West Side. Here he's driving a bus real quick for Diamond Oaks. And he said, they're terrifying me. Atkins and Gardner showed up. And what do you know? They did the same thing to me. Here's a rental agreement at Beach Creek Golf Course. Here's Scott Atkins. I told my lawyer, I said, Atkins and Gardner, see there's Gardner's name on there too. They're harassing me, they're stalking me. And he just told me, Bob, it's public place, as long as they don't do any violence or anything, where physically there's nothing you can do about it. I said, what about Danny Helm? Same deal. Besides, let him fend for himself. Okay, Danny Helm, he ended up having a heart attack. I think his wife said that the stress of them following him just put him over the edge because he was terrified to have to go into to be deposed. Okay, now here's Scott Atkins, another handwriting sample. This is him giving a performance review on his nephew, Bill Smith. That's illegal. All right, now here's Nippert Stadium. See the paint buckets? See peanut shells and stuff? People were sitting in there. Okay? This is when the Big Ten said, UC is a joke. This place is a joke. There's some more. Same thing. Open paint buckets. Cups that they use to trim. Okay, now here's my radiation camera that I entered in the Inquiry Innovation Contest, the pinhole camera concept, pinhole camera. Okay, here's Hitachi Electric, Japan's. They copied my drawing, but I made it public knowledge. And like I said, if I would have patented that, if I wasn't fired from UC, if I would have patented that, we're talking tens of millions of dollars of royalties. Okay, oh yeah, here we go. Here's Jim Tucker is evaluating Lynn Plouffe. He's having sex with her, and he's giving her a raise. Oh jeez, yeah, she was evaluated all right. I wonder if it's never mind. Okay, now. Oh, here's a police report. What do you know? The usual suspects. Me, Mark Dupps, and Rob Bell. I don't know what, oh yeah, suspected criminal damaging. Okay, here's the body shop report on Jimmy King. Left his keys in his UC Jeep. $4,400 damage. And then the date on this is the same date, well, when I saw Mike Allen at the 52 bar. You know, I got this copy a couple weeks later, Greg Mendel. Okay, here's the subpoena from WL to WLW. I was on Mike McConnell show. I said Jim Tucker knocked up a secretary, gave her tens of thousands of dollars worth of raises and bonuses, and they refused the subpoena. Oh, let's see now. Salary exemption. Oh, guess who? For Lynn, salary determination for Lynn Plouffe. He's giving her another raise. These are public documents. Oh, then finally, this, you know, what is it? January 96, August 1997. Dear Jim, please accept this letter of my resignation effective today, August 28th, 1997. She was pregnant with his kid. They said if he wouldn't have married her, he would have got fired. He should have been fired anyway. He's having sex with a sportsman. Okay, here's the PDQ. Bill Smith for Roy Allbecker. He can't read or write. No driver's license. Okay, they're proving him over black men with college. And here it is, Scott Atkins, Jim Tucker. Yeah, that Martine Hodges, there were rumors that he was also having sex with her. Okay, now I went to Pat Brogan, if we go all the way back in my phone records, and that's when I said, Pat, WLW, they're promoting people on race only. They're not promoting any black people at all. At all. Now here's that police report again. When Atkins says, official police report, he did not put that note in my locker. And he did not write that threatening note. Then here's where the UC professional said he saw no similarities in the handwriting. Now, there's when I was, Mr. Macke, you are, there's a hearing on your behalf. What do you know? My union president show up. Oh yeah, you're charged with insubordination, grounds for disciplinary action under the management agreement that you were directed by your supervisor to report back to the office at 8 a.m. You stated that you were busy programming in the irrigation station. You finally arrived at 8:20. Then you'll see what the meeting was about, because there was no meeting. I'm finalizing everything now. Like I said from the very beginning, University of Cincinnati destroyed my life. Now, I just happened to see Terry Nelson. former UC basketball player at Kroger's. We were reminiscing. My brother Mike, against NCAA regulations, bought him a car. Okay? You know, remember Ohio State, they got in trouble when the players got free tattoos. When I talked to my brother about it, before he went to the federal penitentiary for money laundering, he said they weren't buying new cars, but a lot of the big donors were buying cars for selected players. And like I said, they weren't new cars and they weren't really old beaters, but he said, yeah, we just have Jeff Weiler come up with a car, and then they put it in Terry's case, I think he said they put it in his mom or his sister's name. Okay. NCAA, isn't that the death penalty? Okay. This is going back a while, but the thing is, though, it happened. And everything, too. At Wetherington Golf Course, Mike had, about 20 or 30 UC football players. They were just doing menial stuff like helping us fill sand traps, throwing straw bales into the straw spreader, stuff that they can't get hurt on, but they're working. Okay, I go to hand out checks. One of the football players opened up his envelope and said, only such and such an hour. The two guys, the locals that just live down the street, they said they're making $2 an hour more than us. We quit. I think that's a violation of NCAA rules too. I think, and the football players said, let's go work for Weiler, man. He paid better than this. And you don't have to do anything. But now with Mike paying them more than the people actually doing the work, isn't that a violation too? And this was going on over 10 years. I'd say no, at least over 5 years. Now, I'm trying to sum up, but this all happened to me. They're cleaning the house up now. There's a chance I'm going to get thrown out. My mom passed away November 19th. That's coming up. Probate lawyer or a judge said the place got to be listed. My mom, by the 19th. My mom, she didn't change the will. She told me, Bobby, I changed the will, you get the house. The last 4 years, I was a caregiver for 13 years. Okay, when I got evicted by my own family, I was there about 3 weeks. I was living in a basement because I had 3 dogs and 3 cats. My mom broke her femur at her artificial knee joint. She fell. Okay, so I ended up, was it 3 years after I was fired from UC, going to evaluations, I just had a total meltdown, a breakdown, and memory issues. And the doctors kept just pumping me with tranquilizers. That's some of my memory issues. And I Social Security, but if I did something like stonework, that's about the only thing I could do. I had to tell them that I'm doing this or that. But I was paying my mom $600 a month rent. That's over half of my Social Security check. I kept on trying, like with radiography, studying. I could not. I used to read a book about every 3 months. I just can't. I couldn't comprehend. Now, real quick I was saying about how I invented this helmet. This is what I'd like. Hey, if there's any lawyers watching, how'd you like to represent me with Indiana and Purdue? I want to give it to them, but be compensated. See, before I was fired at UC, I was a volunteer at the DAP shop. I just loved to help these students. Machining work for them, and I just tell them, and I signed a non-disclosure saying I can't steal their ideas. I wouldn't want to steal them anyway. Okay. That's represent me. My sister-in-law, she retired from Indiana State. She used to teach at her house. She had a little studio, and that's how I'd like to do the show them how the helmet works. Then also, I invented a high-performance steam engine. This thing is miniature and it's super high performance. It runs on wood pellets. And the drawings I had, I used a 911 Porsche, just downloaded it. And on the roll cage, that's hollowed out, and that's where the wood pellets are poured in. And I would like, again, with IU and Purdue, have IU work with Honda engineers and Purdue work with Subaru engineers to perfect this. back in the 70s, I wrote a paper before I was fired about how in the 70s, the fuel crisis, that both GM and Ford were experimenting with wood-burning steam engines, but they were using saturated steam. Mine uses saturated and superheated steam, and everybody's saying, well, if there's a wreck, they're going to get burnt. No, they won't. This is just like a submarine or an aircraft carrier or any steam. Once it does its work, it goes to a condenser, like a radiator in your car. It gets condensed and it goes right back up and be heated back into steam. There would be no more fluid in this engine than a small four-cylinder engine. I would like to develop it. Oh yeah, wood is a biofuel, and oh yeah, Ford and GM, they had the EPA do tests on it. It was 1/30th, not a third, a 30th of the carbon dioxide of gasoline or diesel. So I'd like to have them make a prototype and have the IU and Purdue first race it around Indianapolis Motor Speedway to show off my invention, and then finally have a race from Indianapolis Motor Speedway to Denver, Colorado, and maybe on 5 bags of wood pellets. When they have to stop and get wood pellets, you're just stopping at any Home Depot or Menards, or or even a mom and pop hardware store, and get some more wood pellets. And altogether, in the end, I think black employees, with the information I gave, I think they should be able to sue the University of Cincinnati. The defendants would also be WLW, because I went to them about the race. Oh yeah, Terry Nelson. I went to Pat Brogan, I told him about it. I said, my brother's bought Terry Nelson a car, and so are other the big donors buying other cars for other UC athletes. Later on, after I was fired, WW always go after Ohio State because they prop up UC. I call UC the pig with the most lipstick. Okay, I called in, the screener was Eggers, I don't know, Mo or something like that. I think the guy's a clown. And I told him, I said, well, oh, it was Tattoo-gate, And I said, well, shoot, at UC, my brother, he illegally bought Terry Nelson a car. Click. It wouldn't let me on. So WLW knew that, well, UC was doing practices that should be getting the death penalty. But WLW knew the racism, the corruption. Mike Allen knew the racism and corruption. Jim Tucker did the racism and presided over the corruption, and that racist criminal scum Ferrara. Now, I think the black employees should be able to sue, and sue them big time. And NCAA is there any way to separate WLW from the University of Cincinnati, because they protect the racism and corruption? And I would really like to see that happen, because then I could see iHeartRadio suing Mike Allen, Mike McConnell, Cunningham, Gary Jeff Walker, who I call Gary Jeff Goebbels. I think they should be defendants. And for me too, because Walker knew that Tucker bribed my union president. He knew all this stuff. So that's all I got. And like I said, my life is measured in months now and not years. I'd like to get something done. I haven't been on a vacation in 20 years. Only once was I more than 30 miles away from my mom's house, which I'm about ready to get kicked out of. And yeah, I got to have something done now, because I'm going to be thrown out in the street. I have no place to go. So, and I used to love UC. I used to love it. And then when I got a job there, I loathed that dump. I loathed it. Well, that's all I got. Thank you.